Hey, thank you very much for joining us on the Photo Flunky Show, episode 131. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about why I never use artificial light in any of my photos. Hi, welcome. My name is William Beem, and welcome to the Photo Flunky Show, the place where we help photographers become better visual storytellers so they can take better photos to share, sell, and remember. Show notes are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 131. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a few things. I mean, obviously the one I just brought up is why I never use artificial light. We're going to talk about the three major components of light, and then we're going to kind of talk about the pros and cons of available light versus flash. Here's the simple reason I never use artificial light, and that is because all light is natural. There is no such thing as artificial light. If you think about it, light is nothing more than electromagnetic radiation that happens to occur within the visible spectrum. I mean, there's electromagnetic radiation that is in all sorts of spectrums, and we can't see it. We know it's there, we can measure it, we just simply can't see it. Light is radiation that we can see, nothing more. And man-made light is still light. It is not artificial because it's still the same thing. It is found in nature. Just because man generated it does not mean that it is unnatural or therefore artificial. Let's take a look at something else completely. Sweetener. I got a hell of a sweet tooth. I love just sweet tasting things, and that's to my detriment. Artificial sweetener versus natural sweeteners. We think of sugar as a natural sweetener. There are other types. I mean, stevia is something that maybe some people thought was artificial, but it's really a natural plant-based sweetener. But you take something like, remember the first one, I think it was saccharin, or you take something like Sweet and Low. Those are not made from nature. Those were made from man doing something chemical. So although they are sweeteners, they are not natural. That is not the same as man-made light. We're not coming up with something that is doing the same purpose as light, but is completely artificial. We're simply coming up with ways to generate light on demand, but it is still light. And light has three major components: color, direction, and quality. And we can affect all of those, and so can nature. And just because we affect them does not mean that they are unnatural. If you look at the range of color in a day, starting off in the morning with sunrise and ending at sunset, and then even on to the evening with the stars at night, you're going to see color shifts. You're going to see your blues, your golden hues that are coming out. You're going to see bright white light. If a cloud rolls in, it might change the color of the light. A storm rolls in, it might take on a bluish or purple tint. It is all natural, and the color changes are natural. One of the reasons light changes color is because it adapts the color of anything that it hits. So that's, for example, that's why when it hits one of those clouds, the color that you see of the day, you get that kind of a cool feeling or mood. You have more blues and purples that are coming in because the light is taking on those colors. And this is a simple thing that you can test yourself. If you bounce light off of a painted wall, something that isn't white, the result you're going to get is light with the color of whatever it was reflected off of. You see the same thing when you use gels. If you put a color temperature orange gel in front of it, you put a color temperature blue gel in front of it, or something more creative with any number of different colors of gels, the light that's coming out of your flash is starting off white. It's hitting that gel and then taking on the color of whatever it hit, and then that's what's going on your subject. The same thing happens with sunlight. If it comes out and bounces off of something, it is going to take on the color of whatever it hit. So whatever's in the atmosphere, that's the color that you're going to get. And that's why sometimes the sky is blue and sometimes the sky is gray. It is really a lot of stuff in the atmosphere that is changing the color of the light that's going through it. The last item that we want to look at as the component of light is quality. We typically talk about quality of light in terms of, is it hard light or harsh light? Is it soft light? And there are degrees in between. And that is really a matter of really affecting the direction of light on a smaller scale. When we look at a diffuser, all that is doing is scattering the light into different directions. Light travels in one direction. It does not change until it interacts with something that redirects the photons or the electromagnetic radiation, whatever you want to think of it as. Once it hits something that, it bounces and redirects into another direction. A diffuser is designed on purpose to scatter that light, so it's not all hitting at the same harsh angle, so that it's coming in different directions on whatever your subject is. That's how you get soft light. It's the same reason why when light hits or sunlight hits a cloud, the cloud vapors will scatter the light beams into different directions, and then you end up getting this soft, beautiful light. It's really just a matter of those three things: color, direction, and quality. You can do that with sunlight. You can do that with flash. You can do that with fire. Whatever your source of light is, you can change the color. You can change the quality by putting something in front of it. Changing the direction is a bit harder when you're dealing with natural elements. So for example, the sun's going to travel where it's going to travel. You can't change that. You can bounce it with a reflector and change the direction that way, but you have limited options as to how much bounce you can really do. The same thing is if you have a campfire, that's light. It's natural, available light. But you have limited options as to how you're going to be able to bounce that light, and also limited options as to how you're going to be able to change the color of it. This is why I kind of wonder when I hear people talk about sunlight and available light being better somehow than flash. If that were the case, why would so many photographers and movie directors and folks who are creating things based upon light spend so much money on man-made light? It's because they want control. They want to be able to change the color, the direction, and the quality of light. Now, there are some pros and cons you might want to consider because, first off, I'm not against available light. It is, well, let's start with the basic one. It's free. Except for maybe the cost of some reflectors or diffusers, you can go out, so long as the light is available, and start shooting. And you're going to have some beautiful light in the morning. You're going to have beautiful light at sunset. And that's not the only available light. When you are going maybe downtown someplace in the evening and street lights are out, that is also available light. That is also natural light. Even if it's coming from a sign that's illuminated, we get some wonderful, interesting images based upon that light that's available to us. And that's free to use. The problem with available light is consistency. Daylight changes, but flash is pretty consistent. You program your flash to fire off at 1/4 power. As long as you've got a battery charge or it's plugged in someplace and access to electricity, it is going to consistently fire the same amount of light over and over and over again. There might be some subtle shift in color. I mean, some flashes have a stable color mode. Others might shift, 200K plus or minus, but you have a pretty consistent availability of light with a flash, and you can put it wherever you want. So long as you can reach it, you can put it there. The nice thing about light is that you can modify it. When we bring out a reflector, and depending upon the color of what we're hitting, some reflectors are gold, some are white, some are silver. The sunlight is going to hit that, or the flash, if that's what you're using, is going to hit that and bounce off in the direction that you've got your angle set to, and with the color of your modifier. For flash and strobe, you have an almost endless array of opportunities to generate hard light, soft light, direction light. You've got color, everything you want to do. You can put something in front of that light, and that's what's going to give you the quality of light that you really want. Something that's beautiful, something that's soft, or if your subject needs it, something that's harsh and really direct and is going to make sharp shadows on it. Now, this is something that you may not have thought about with light, but think about weight. It's one thing about available light. It's not heavy. You can walk around and you don't have to carry anything just to use the available light. Flash, you start carrying your lights, some stands, some modifiers. It slows you down, and there's no doubt about that. You don't necessarily want to do street photography working with a C-stand and a big light and strobe, kind of walking up and down the streets so you can have that beautiful control of light. You accept and work with the fact that available light is what you use. One of the things that you look at is control, and I think you have many more options to control flash than available light. As I said, with available light, you can redirect it or you can diffuse it. There's not that much more. I mean, if you've got a big gel source that you want to try and put on your subject, technically that's possible, but that is going to be such a pain. Whereas if you can carry a small flash and put a gel in front of it, you can cast a pretty good sized beam of light, and then you can still soften it. You can still direct it where you want to. You have more options to control when you're working with flash than you do with available light. Finally, light is what creates the mood in our photos. And if you want something dark and moody with a splash of light, or if you want something bright and sunny, you can do that in obviously in bright sunny daylight. But you can also create the same thing using your strobes and flashes with the right modifiers on front of it. So it's not a matter that you can do something one way that you can't do the other. I'd say it's probably easier to create almost anything you want to do with your own flashes and strobes and modifiers. But sometimes if the light outside is what you want and need, then that's the way to go. When it comes right down to it, light is light. What matters is how you use it. And that's really our job as photographers. Thank you very much for joining us on the Photo Flunky Show. It was a short one this week. That's because Lee is in San Francisco for the marathon and also meeting with some of her folks in the fitness industry. But she will be back in a future episode. We would love it if you would subscribe to us on the Photo Flunky Show. Just go to williambeam.com/iTunes and you can sign right up. Or if you're looking at a mobile device and you've got a player, please go ahead and subscribe right there. You'll get the show delivered to you for free every week. You can also find links to subscribe at photoflunky.com for Google Play, Stitcher, and Blueberry. Thank you so much for listening to us. Show notes are going to be available at williambeam.com/episode 131. And if you're a Lightroom user, please check out my free brushes for portraits. You can find them to enhance eyes, skin, teeth, and more. See you next week.